How do you travel to school? I bet a few of you travel in a car. Well, in the past, even though the early types of car had been invented, not many people in Wanneroo owned a car. Also, it was not common for parents to take their children to school. Children would often go by themselves or with their friends or siblings. They often had to travel through bush, like this. So, in the early days of the Wanneroo school, how did they get to the school? Some children rode a horse. Eva Cotman remembered riding her pony Dolly to school with her two brothers on a horse behind her. When she got to the school, she would leave her horse outside and then at the end of the day would travel back on her horse. Sometimes children needed to share a horse, like in this photo of the four Leach brothers on their way to school in East Wanneroo. However, because many families in the Wanneroo area were farmers, they needed to use their horse on the farm for jobs. Some families could not afford to have their horse out all day. Gertie Capehorn had to take her sister Alma to school on the family horse, and then she would ride back home to do chores during the day, and at the end of the school day would go and pick up her sister. However, when Alma was 13, her father said that they needed to have the horse on the farm, so she had to stop going to school. Another way children got to school was by walking, and this was difficult for some children because they had a really long way to walk. In 1902, 3 students lived more than 6 kilometres away, and it would have taken over an hour to get to school and then another hour at the end walking back home. Can you imagine having to do that? And the Hastings siblings actually had to row a boat across Lake Joondalup because it was too far for them to walk around the lake. But having to walk the long distance, and especially if it was bad weather, meant that often children weren't attending school regularly. On top of that, some children were not attending school because they had to stay at home to help with chores. This was because in the past, you could get permission in special circumstances to stay at home if you had a sick parent or if it was busy times on the farm, such as seeding and harvesting. To help with better attendance, a bus driver was organised to take students to school. Bob Steele drove the school bus from 1922 until the 1940s. To begin with, the bus was pulled by 2 horses, and then in the 1930s, motor vehicles were used, and eventually they had to have 2 buses picking kids up from different areas. And then from 1949, the Vosnikos family took over the bus service. As the population grew and more schools were built, they got up to 18 school buses on the school routes. There were a few problems riding on the bus though. Some of the roads, such as Nangara Road, were really narrow limestone tracks. If there was a big truck coming, the school bus had to pull off the side of the road and sometimes got their wheels bogged in the sand. The children had to get out and help push the bus back onto the road. Did you know that the school bus was also used to deliver mail and the children became the posties? Children on the bus would receive the mail to take home to their families, or if there were other letters, the older boys would hop off the bus and put it in the letterboxes.